All right then, it's 5 past. Let's get going. So, okay, 10 people. That's good. So, we do have sort of 48 IDD students in year 12. So 10's good. I'm sure everyone else is doing some really awesome lockdown related stuff and working hard, learning independently to get good enough to get employed one day. Great. So, I'm just going to put in a little link for some resources for you to download. I've got a little note on my screen here. So to get started, if you want to download the resources for this tutorial, I'm going to need you to go to tiny.cc/Ben's files. And in there, you're going to see a zip file. So if I just do a quick demo, lowercase Ben's files, and it should go here. And then you'll see like a zip file that says neon sign template source. And you can go ahead and right click and download that. That would be great. And I'll just give you a minute or so to do that. Cool. So it should look like this. You've got your downloads folder, double click on that zip file, 1, 2, and oh yeah, if you're on a Mac, you double click on it. If you're on a Windows computer, you right click, you do extract all, and you just immediately hit extract. And it will then bring up a folder with all the pictures in that you need for the thing today. Let's get going then. So first of all, I need to open up Photoshop, and Photoshop should be open now. And I'm going to get you to do create new. So you can do file new, and this window pops up. We're going to do this sort of for screens rather than for print. So if you just on the right hand side of this window, you got some, make sure it says pixels. It's this. So change it from inches to pixels, and change the width to 2560 by height should be 1440, and then hit don't worry about the resolution because that's standard, because you've already typed in the pixels. That's fine. To 2560 by 1440. I'll leave that there on the screen just for a second for you, and we'll go from there. So I might just stop here. Okay, great. And then hit create, and it will come up with a good sized image that's 16 by 9, which is the ratio for screens. Okay, so we're going to do we're going to create an interactive template. That's how this lesson is going to be a bit more different to what you might have done at school before. And go to Graphic River. And so this is the same website that everyone buys all their royalty-free music from. And here you can buy templates of graphics and stuff. So if I was to type in neon poster in here, it will come up with all posters that people have made that you can download and edit. And these documents will be live, so you can just immediately go into this neon one here and just change the text immediately without really knowing anything about Photoshop or how to make it look cool, and it will just work without you really knowing how to use Photoshop. So templates are for people that don't know how to use Photoshop, that just want to spend some money and get it done. So it only goes for £10, but remember that's £10 forever, which is really good. And so the way I do this is if a client asks me to make a poster and they say, Ben, can you make a neon poster? I say yes. And I then sell the template for what I made for my client, again, to the internet like this. And infinite people can buy it. So that's good. Sometimes clients demand that they have sole ownership over graphics that you make. This is usually the case if you sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. And if that's the case, you charge double or even triple to give someone full ownership over the graphics that you create. Most people don't bother, and they just say, oh, never mind, you can keep the graphics, Ben, and then I can sell it again to everyone else. So easy money. So I'll actually start teaching now. So let's go to import the image. So in your Finder or in your Windows folder, you should see an image called bricks 2, and I want you to drag that in over your white area here like that. So import your bricks image there, and it won't be the correct size, so resize it up. Remember, if you hold Alt on the keyboard, it will scale from the middle. I'm going to write in all my useful tips in here. So Alt when resizing equals middle. Great. And so you can just scale those bricks into there. And then when you move them, you've got to hit the tick at the top or hit enter on the keyboard, and you'll be good to go. And now let's make these bricks night time. So we are actually going to we're going to rasterize these bricks just to make life easier. So these bricks here, the thumbnail for them, you can see there's a little piece of paper icon in them there. All you've got to do is right click and rasterize layer. So rasterizing means that you can convert the layer into a normal image that you can do anything to. So in Photoshop, if you ever see anything grayed out, then it means it's not rasterized and it's like a smart object. So just go in there and you can do that. To make something look like nighttime, I would duplicate the layer. So you can do Control J to duplicate really quickly, or you can do right click duplicate if you're old school. So Control J to duplicate the layer, and then we're going to do hue and saturation. So I'm going to do Control U, or if you're old school, image adjustments, hue saturation, and or Control U if you're really good. And all you got to do is hit the colorize tick box. So I can see your comments on the right here. So if you need to say anything or ask any questions, please do. I need to know that you guys are okay with all this. And I want you to tick the box for colorize. And we're going to try and make it some kind of shade of blue, or bluey purple if you want. And so at night time, things usually look a bit blue, or at least they do in films. And that's how we're going to do it here. So that's colorize tick box. Make the hue go to blue. And the saturation, leave it quite desaturated. I'll probably put mine down to about 15, and in a minute it will get even better and more saturated. So once it's a bit blue, saturation to 15, hit OK. And then you're going to do curves, which are a really good way of making things darker. So remember, if you want to make things darker, never do this. Never do Control U and drag the lightness down, because it's just as bright, but it's darker. I know that doesn't make any sense, but you'll see. So don't ever do that, because that still looks bright, just less. It looks like your phone screen's gone darker, but trying to show a bright image. It's rubbish. So if you do Control M for curves, or if you're old school, image, adjustments, curves, you should get your curves graph there. Do Control M. So what we did here, we got Control U. Control U rhymes with hue. Control M has nothing to do with the word curves, except for the fact that if you did like drag this, don't do this. If you drag this line around, you could kind of make it the letter M. That's how I remember that M is for curves. Maybe you guys don't need those sorts of visual cues, but anyway, so you should have a line like this. And to make these bricks go to nighttime, just move your mouse to the middle of that diagonal line and click and drag that line down and to the right a little bit like this. What this is doing is keeping the darkest colors just as dark and the lightest colors just as light, and it's only darkening the colors in between, which is what kind of happens at nighttime, and you can drop that down to there. Don't make it too dark like that, but just about here. So drag your curves to a shape that looks roughly like this. And we're then going to go and sort some of these bricks out. So you've done that and hit OK like that. And we're going to just go ahead and darken some of these here bricks. So to darken these, I would zoom in with Alt and scroll, and we're going to use the let me just see if the burn tool works on this one. Smashing. So we're going to use the burn tool, which is actually O on the keyboard. You should see a lollipop looking symbol by default on the left of Photoshop, and if you hit O for Oscar on the left and change it from the dodge tool to the burn tool, like that, and make sure that at the top your brush has a soft sort of fuzzy bit around it. So make sure at the top on your brush settings you set the hardness to 0 and the size to about 90. That's about the height of a brick. You can do 100 if you want. I've got mine set to 90. So you can now obviously right click anywhere to make the hardness 0, size 90. And then set the exposure to about 60% or 70% at the top up here. And find the bricks that are too bright and too white and just kind of click on them and drag and paint over them a couple of times. And I've set the range to mid-tones. I could try highlights. Okay, the highlights works quite nicely as well. And I've hit protect tones on there. Otherwise, it goes a bit too grayscale. Just darken some of these bricks. Not too much, just a little bit. These bright bricks here. So there you go, like that. Okay, sweet, that'll do. Okay, this actually seems to have made it look like it's a bit grayscale. So I could do my hue saturation thing again after this. I probably should have done these bricks before. So I'm going to really quickly do again, Control U, and just hit the colorize box again. It shouldn't get any darker. It will just mean that the bricks that you just made darker will then kind of go and match all the other ones. At the moment, they're a bit grey, but hit the colorize tick box, and it should remember the settings that you had last time and keep it that same shade of blue. And you can do that. You can see I missed one here, so I'm just going to go ahead, hit cancel, and try that one more time. Control U, colorize, done. So this nighttime thing actually works with photos as well. In year 13, I'll show you how to do it. It's like a whole city and turn all the lights on and stuff. It's a whole lot of fun, but we're just going to do that really simply here. Okay, great. So you've now made that a bit darker. We're going to add some text to this. We'll add vignettes later on. So let's get your text tool out. Remember, in Photoshop, unlike Google Slides or PowerPoint, you do not drag text boxes. Don't do this because sometimes your font will be too big and it won't even fit in there, and usually it will disappear. So don't drag a text box. Instead, just get your text tool and click once without moving your mouse like that, and some text will appear on your screen. It probably says some lorem ipsum stuff. So you're going to need to install the fonts now. So go to your folder that has all the things in it that you want. And if you install these 3 fonts, we've got Beyond, Hello Denver, and Lost Wages, and Lie to Me. So if you go to your downloaded fonts and double click on Beyond, it should come up with... Where'd it go? There you go. It should come up with this screen here. Just hit install. If you think you might have installed it, it might come up with this. Just say no, don't replace it. If it suggests that, otherwise it'll be fine. So I want Beyond. Double click on this next one, which is Hello. So that's all your fonts. Yeah. So when you're doing stuff in IDD, I would always recommend downloading the fonts, unless you're using Helvetica. Because we've seen all the ones on your computer and they're all boring as beans. So get your text. What I did there, I got my lorem ipsum and I got the move tool at the top up here, which is V for violin on the keyboard. And I moved the text over just so I can see it. And then I go back to the text tool. And when my text icon goes from having a box around it to not having a box around it, I can triple click on my lorem ipsum and I can start changing it up. First of all, let's change the color so we can see it. I'm going to click on the black box up here and make the color go white, like that. This is one of the few times I will use pure white. When I'm teaching, I usually choose just off-white because that's just how the laws of the universe go. But when you're creating pure light, like lightning or neon, then you can actually use pure white. It's one of the few times you can use pure white. And then you're going to change a font to one of the ones you've installed. Let's do a bold one for this one. I'm going to choose Hello Denver as this. So triple click, and at the font at the top, type in hello, and it should come up with Hello Denver Display Regular, and it looks like it's glitching out. So this font only accepts capital letters, which is kind of common for downloaded things sometimes. So I'm going to do, type in anything you want. You can type in your name. I'm going to just type in neon like this. Because I want this to actually be a template that people can download. So type in neon. But if I were you, I would just put your name in it so you can have something cool with your name on it, and it looks different to everyone else's. Okay, let's bring up your character box. If you can't see your character window here, click on this button just there, which looks like a box or a folder with some lines in it. And it should bring up your character window. Yours will probably be detached like this. I've just docked mine into there because I use it all the time. Great. And you can increase the font size by dragging these two T's. Don't choose a font size from the drop-down arrow like it's Microsoft Word. It won't work. Just simply drag these two T's to the right like that, and your font will get bigger. This should be stuff you already know, but I assume many of you forgotten due to lockdown and stuff. And then you're going to want to space your letters out. So by default, it probably just looks like this. To make things look more posh or more awesome, just drag the VA symbol here to the right a bit until it says about 200 or about 200. Mine's 180. And then you've spaced out your font really nicely. Like that. Okay, so here's how to set this up to glow. This is we're like 25 minutes into the tutorial, and here's to actually make stuff glow. So we're going to use the layer styles. The easiest way to get there is to double click on the empty gray area by your text. Don't double click on the thumbnail. Instead, double click on the empty grey area by your text here for neon, like that, 1, 2. And it comes up with your layer styles window, which is a really awesome thing because it is interactive. In other words, it's stuff that whatever you do in here, you can come back to it later on and change it. Unlike other things in Photoshop, like the filter menu, once you've done it until you hit undo. Whereas here, it's interactive forever, which means you and your clients or people that buy this file can go in and change things up. So I'm going to go to where it says outer glow first. So click on the tick box and the word. Sorry, actually, if you just click on the word itself, it automatically clicks a tick box. So quite a lot of students sometimes just hit the tick box on its own. It doesn't work. Click on outer glow, the word here. And to get there, you just double click in the grey area to bring this up. Choose a color. You can do any color you like. In a minute, we're going to do another line of text in a cursive font. And you might want to choose a complementary color. If you don't know what complementary colors are, you should because you're in my class. But you can go to Adobe Color. You got to spell it like an American though, with no U. And go to Adobe Color, and it shows you all what colors match. The easiest one's, of course, complementary, which is good. But the current trend is to do analogous. I'm just going to say it like that, where it's colours in a similar, that are sort of neighbouring to each other. And in 2020, it's kind of shades of blue and purple. This is just really hot right now. And so if you see all these sort of gradients down here, you might have noticed it in lots of graphic design on Behance and stuff recently. It's there. I'm not a graphic designer. I'm a 3D artist, but I do know this. And so I'm gonna do pinks and blues for this. So I'm gonna do a shade of blue for this one. I'm gonna click on this and do maybe a slightly more purpley blue. Actually, no, I'm just gonna do, yeah, that's quite nice, like that. Bit more of a good. Now, before you hit OK on this, you've got to copy your color code here. So there's a hexadecimal code for this color. Each color in Photoshop has a name, and you're going to do Control C to copy that. You can use a pastel color if you want. I'm just going to do just something like that. If you want to copy the exact stuff I've got, I'm doing number 187 AFF. Copy that. You absolutely need to copy that. Hit OK. If you didn't copy it, don't worry. Click on that again. Control C on that. And now we're going to go to the noise. So in Photoshop, what is really on trend right now is to have noise on all of your stuff. So in real life, when you take pictures on a camera, there is always going to be a bit of grain and noise, especially if you take pictures at night time. And when you do things on the computer, it's always too perfect. And because of that, it looks fake and boring. But if you swing in here and add some noise to it, you can see your the glow actually just suddenly looks a little bit more realistic. If we were taking pictures of this neon sign at night, we would definitely be expecting to see a bit of noise as our camera increases its ISO to compensate. So I'll set my noise to about 15. You can do what you think looks good. Maybe 20 just to exaggerate it. Okay, set your noise to about, 20 looks good. You can just see it a little bit further away then. And when you zoom in with Alt and scroll, you can see the effect. It's quite nice. To make your glow bigger or smaller now, I've set my spread to 8 and the size to about 60. And the opacity to 100 as well. So I'll show you those numbers again. An outer glow, set the blend mode to screen, which should already be on. The opacity to 100, the noise to 20, the color to a shade of blue, the spread to 8, the size is 60, and that should look, when you zoom out, it should look alright. I might just increase the spread, hang on. You play with what you think looks good. I've actually increased the size of this bit actually up now to 125. Either way, that's fine. You do what you think looks good. Now, go to Inner Glow, click on the word for Inner Glow, and change the color. So click on the color box for Inner Glow, and just hit, so whatever color's in there, just do Control V to paste your color in for Inner Glow. To start with, it might be difficult to see, but if you zoom in, you can zoom in even while this window's open, you should see the edges of your white lines are now slightly more blue. To preview it, you can actually turn Inner Glow off and on again just to preview this. So same thing with lightsabers and stuff, but with neon signs, you show the audience what color your neon is, not by the middle of the neon sign, but rather by the tiny bit around the edge. So when you see lightsabers on screen, like Mace Windu's lightsaber isn't actually purple, it's white, but it's got a purple glow, and that's how we know it. You might want to increase the size of this so it looks a little bit more tubular. I'm changing the size of my Inner Glow to about 10. The choke, I don't really like that because it makes it look a little bit like that, a bit cartoony. So you can put your size up to about 10. Change the source to edge. So make sure the you actually have the edge like that. And the opacity to 100. Now, if you can't see this, you're going to need to make sure the blend mode is set to normal. So if it's set to screen, remember screen is going to make anything that's lighter visible over something that's darker, and it will kind of automatically remove darker areas. Because this is already pure white, it cannot make this blue even brighter than white. So change it to normal and it will be fine. So leave these settings on here for you. That's blend mode to normal, opacity to 100. Oh, noise! I love noise. Noise is my favorite thing. I think it looks awesome. So I put my noise to about 7. If you go too wild with noise, it looks stupid. Looks like Microsoft Paint, but put it to about 7 like that. And the source to edge, choke 0, size 10, and you should be good with that. And hit OK. Great, you've just done your first neon text. And the great thing about this is, remember, you can go to your text tool and type in something else like that, and it absolutely works fine, which is really cool. And in real time, it just updates, which means your clients and people that buy your file can come along and change this up. So I think that's really good. Next, let's get some more text on the screen, and I'm going to show you a really important step to speed things up. So get your text tool again. This time, click somewhere lower down than the neon text. Make sure that your text icon with the I symbol on it has a dotted line around it. Otherwise, you'll just end up selecting this again. So I would simply click or deselect your layer by clicking the empty area down here. Get your text tool and just click somewhere underneath it like this. Don't drag a box. And now you're going to type in something else. I'm going to type in the word template. The text is far too big this time. It's remembered the size of the font that you had last time. So you can triple click on this or do Control A to select all of your text. And in your character settings, if you can't see character settings, click on this icon up here like that. And in your character menu, drag the spacing back down. Actually, we'll do that in a second. And drag the font size down to about... let's try 350 for now. If it's too far off screen, just get your move tool, which is V on the keyboard for violin, and very carefully move your text over like this. If you accidentally click on a brick wall, you just need to zoom in closer and then move the text like that. Or you could lock the brick layer by clicking on the layer and clicking on the padlock, but I'm not going to bother. I'm going to go back to my text layer, get my text tool, and I'm going to triple click on the word template. So text tool, triple click on template, 1, 2, 3 like this, and change the font. So you can change it up here as well, but you can also change it over here. It doesn't really matter. This time I'm going to use lie to me like this. And this font only looks good when you have sort of lowercase stuff going on. So I'm going to type in something like this. So that's a font called Lie to Me. It's a good font because it's cursive and the edges of it are rounded. So it looks like it could be neon, which is really nice. Make sure the text is still selected by triple clicking on it. And I want you to now drag this VA to the left until the letters are actually joined up properly. So this is a cursive font. The letters should be joining up together. So just drag that to the left like that. So if you set the VA to 0, that's what will work for everyone. My font size is 350. This spacing between the letters or kerning is set to 0. And that should be good. Okay, to apply the glow to this layer... One second. To apply the glow to this layer, all you've got to do is copy it. So this, what some people do is have to go through this neon process again, which takes months. But if you go to your layer here and do right click on your neon or your big capital letter word at the top, right click on the layer for that and do copy layer style. You can go to the word template and right click paste layer style. And bam, how cool is that? So that just saved you all like 20 minutes of faffing around doing all their glow settings again. Where you can just copy and paste layer styles from one to another. So right click on the empty bit by neon, copy layer style, and go to the your new word that's in cursive and paste layer style. I'm going to rotate my text a bit just to jazz things up like that. And kind of move it over there. maybe, I'll see. And let's change the color of this. So even though we pasted the layer styles, we can go onto the double click over here in the empty area of the cursive layer for the layer styles. So go into there and now change the colors up to whatever you want. So let's do outer glow first. Click on the color for outer glow and choose either a complementary or nearby color for this. So I'm going to make this kind of purple like that. Make it maybe a bit more pastel. That'll do. And once you've got that color, copy the color code at the bottom. So do Control C, hit OK, and then go to your inner glow and just simply click on the color for inner glow and do Control V, hit OK, and now you've changed the glow on this one. Because it's the words are slightly closer together, you may want to edit the outer glow settings. So I might just increase the size of the outer glow just so it falls off a bit further away like that, but you don't have to. And if I just go to my inner glow, I might just increase the size of that just to something like there. Sweet. Okay, good. Hit OK on that. Okay, we now need to add some drop shadows to this because I forgot. So to add a drop shadow, let's do either any one first. Just double click on any of these glowing layers. I'm going to do my capital letters one first. Go to drop shadow. It's really important that you do this to make it look good. Okay, it's actually on the bottom one. Do drop shadow. Click on the word drop shadow. And to make it look like it's raised above the wall, simply go to the distance and set the distance to about 5 or 10. The opacity to 100 on this, and change the light angle to about 125. You can then just see a nice sort of drop shadowy thing coming off it down there. So that was drop shadow angle to 125, distance to 10, size I've set mine to 8. If you make it too small, it looks too sharp and it looks like something in Microsoft Word. But if you put it to about 10 or 15, a bit better. Okay, and then that's good, and you can hit OK on that, and you might just, can I right click and copy the layer style and paste it onto this one? I can. Check this out. So you can copy and paste, I knew this anyway, but you can copy and paste individual layer style. So you can see drop shadow appearing on the one of my layers here. Right click on the drop shadow, very accurately right click on it, and just do copy layer style and then paste it onto your other layer that doesn't have a drop shadow yet, and just go paste layer style. And oh no, hang on, can I not just do copy the same one? Okay, looks like you can't, sorry guys. Oh, never mind then. Okay, double click on the top one and just give that a drop shadow too. Same settings. Lighting angle to 125. Opacity to 100, and the distance, because this font's a bit bigger, I'm just going to put that up to about 15 or something like that. Good, hit OK. Okay, we're getting there, and the next thing to do is I just want to show you that you can paint anything else you want into this as well. So if you create a new layer, and with this little plus button down here, and just rename this layer by double clicking on the word layer 1. I'm just going to call this one lines. And if you want to drag in some glowing lines, like if you want a triangle going around this because it's 1986, then you can just go to your lines layer and just for now right click, paste layer style onto there, and you could get your brush out and make sure your brush has a hard edge. In fact, just do this anyway, you'll need it in a minute. So in your lines layer, do right click, paste layer style, and do B for brush on the keyboard. Make sure that it's a brush, not a pencil, but a brush, and change the hardness of your brush to 100, and the size of your brush, I'm going to use my square brackets, size of your brush to about 20. And now what you paint is like that. If the middle of it looks really nasty, make sure that you make your brush pure white. I forgot to say that. So either swap these colors around or make sure the top color here is pure white. And then you can paint new neon stuff onto your scene, which is awesome. If you want to be more accurate though, you can do this. You can hold shift to do dot to dot lines. Or if you want to create your own lines, you can just go to this shape tool down here, which is beneath the cursor. You might not have gone here very often because it's the sort of thing you do in Illustrator. But if you go to the line tool, which is U for uniform on the keyboard, U for uniform, and you bring up this tool here, make sure you change it from like rectangle or whatever down to the line tool, and change the mode of this to pixels. And it will, and make sure anti-aliasing is ticked for this. And the weight, I want you to set this to about 20. Yeah, maybe 25. Yeah, 25. So, and you can just drag your own neon lines in like this. You can just go swing, swing, like this, and it's really cool. So if you want to add in any sort of like cool 1980s triangles, you absolutely can on this layer. So what would I do? Drag a big old triangle down like this through everything. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Drag up another one over here and drag another one over there. There you go. And then you can put, now you can't have the neon overlapping because that's not how neon works. You might just need to get a B for brush and just round out that little bottom bit down there. And the corners here. So it's B for brush. Just give these corners a bit of roundiness on them like that. And just put them in there. You might need to use the eraser tool. So that's E for eraser, hardness to 100. And you could just scale this down and just maybe rub out little glitchy bits. Make sure the opacity set to 100. There you go. And you can now... It's cool, isn't it? Yeah, see, Dan gets it. And then I'm sure everyone else gets it too. And then what I want you to do now, you can't have neon overlapping because it might catch fire in real life. So what we're going to do instead is just sort of rub out the bits what we don't want. So you can hit E for eraser. And please make sure that your eraser hardness is set to 100. And the size of the eraser is about, let's just do 50. You could, of course, use the Marquee selection tool. But this is way more satisfying. And you can rub out your lines like this. If you want to be more accurate, though, of course, you could just do your rectangular marquee tool, which is M for marquee, and just drag a box over the areas you don't want it to appear. So maybe you're going to say when you get close to the letters, like the letter E, you can hit delete over that. And when you get to the letter O, or whatever, but I prefer just to use the eraser tool for this. So you can swing around there. Oh, yeah. If you're really advanced, another way of doing this is to control click. Nah, we'll leave that. It's fine. But you can control click on the layer and grow your selection and stuff. But yeah, I'm going to do E for eraser and just swing down here like that. Now we're going to have to round these out again in a minute. Make sure that this new line doesn't overlap like that. And that's looking good. And then you can go and round these out either by using the eraser tool. Now, if you set smoothing to something like 80, if you make your brush smaller now that you've set smoothing to 80, you'll be able to create really nice flowing curves as you paint, even if you're using a mouse. So if you can't afford a Wacom tablet, you can kind of draw nice shapes still with a mouse by just increasing the smoothing, and you can just round those out. Or you can just do B for brush on the keyboard and extend the line a bit. So that's, I'm just going to round these out myself. So you could just trim it off like that. But when you do smoothing, it lags out a bit, so do be careful. But you could just go in and just kind of B for brush, a rounded bit in like that if you wanted. Make sure these are rounded out, or it'll look like a student's done it. No offense. And then... Cool, so this has taken a while, but that's what Photoshop is. That's why there's jobs in Photoshop. If it was easy, anyone could do it. There you go. So this bit, if you're selling this as a template, yeah, we're not gonna be able to do too much with it, but it's just make it look cool, like that. We're gonna change the color in a second. Don't worry, but go ahead and just round those out like that. So I really like these layer styles because they're interactive. Whatever you do to the layer updates in real time like this. All right, what time is it? I might have to. Nah, we'll do it. Okay, so we're quickly coming up on our deadline. Okay, great. So you got that. If you want to change the color of your lines glow, I'm also just going to drag my lines layer underneath the others. At the moment, the shadows on my lines layer is way too intense. If I'm going to drag it beneath everything, it's in the background because that's where it should be. And then double click on the empty. Good money, you know it. And then double click on the empty area next to lines and go to your outer glow, change it to another color. Pink? Let me just move these. I don't know if I'm using too many neighboring colors. I'm not a graphic designer. Oh my goodness, no. Okay, I'm just going to do. Yeah, I'm going to do pink. It's the 80s, who cares? And then copy my color for pink. I'm using the color FF46C0. Yes, this will be saved on my channel because it's a free, it's free real estate for my watch hours, which I so desperately need. And then I'm going to go to the inner glow and click on the purple and do Control V and hit OK on there. If any of you are behind, though, don't forget you can rewind time using the time slider here in Photoshop, in After Effects, in YouTube, and rewind time itself to see what I've done. That's why I'm doing it in YouTube. Okay, that pink's just too intense. I might just go back to more purple tones like this, like that, and then. Okay. Anyway, whatever colour you've done, it's fine. We're going to move on now and do the final finishing touch, like that. I literally can't see this. I'm just going to hit cancel and leave it purple and just pretend that's fine. Okay. Finally, we need to add a vignette to this. So if you just create one more new layer at the top. So click on your topmost layer, click another new layer. I'm going to call this vignette. You could there's lots of ways of making a vignette. The easiest one that I just do is get a big fat brush, which is B for brush. Make your brush pure black and make your brush really big, like 1500 big. You can type in 1500 and then make the hardness of the brush to 0, the opacity of the brush to 50-ish, and just zoom out a bit with Alt and scroll and just dot in the corners here. So the corners look a bit darker, like this. So I'm just clicking randomly in the corners like that. If I just temporarily turn off all my other layers, you can just see what I've done. I'm just kind of darkening the corners out like this, just for a bit of vignette. Obviously, the light hasn't quite got that far over there. If you've done too much and too greedily, like me, you can just put the opacity down or just get a softer razor to try and fix it too. But let's say I'm happy with that. I'm just going to raise a bit up here. Okay. I'm now going to show you how to do a Photoshop sort of, what's it called? I totally forgot what it's called. We're going to apply a Photoshop sort of script, which will automatically do something for us, an action. So we're about to do an effect to this image that you're probably really going to like and going to want to do to lots of images. And so when I'm creating my YouTube channel thumbnails, I apply a sort of glitch effect or what's called chromatic aberration to it, where you can just see like a bit of RGB offset on the graphics, which just makes it pop. And I can do this at any time I like by just hitting F2 on the keyboard. So if I select all my layers like this, and if I just do Control Shift F3, it automatically does an expression and puts this really cool glitch effect on it. And I just did that with Control Shift F3. It won't work for you because you haven't done this yet. So I absolutely love that more than I can find words to express. And it just looks really 80s, really retro, and it looks like it's really popping out of the page. Even as a thumbnail, you see it. And if you want to make your YouTube thumbnails pop out, just throw a little bit of this on and it just really works. So it's super. So I'm going to undo that. You can just see the, if I delete this, you can just see the before and after of that. So let's do it. We've got 4 minutes to create an expression. Also, while we're talking about money, you can sell expressions. So if you make an expression, it's cool, isn't it? So if you make an expression, you can actually sell that for money as well. You're probably thinking, wow, Ben, you're obsessed with money. Don't worry, when you guys are 30 trying to pay rent, you'll be obsessed with money just like I am as you try to survive in the cruel world. So if we go to Photoshop and I type in Photoshop action, not only can you make the action make your work faster so you earn more per hour, any expressions that you do, you can then sell online for even more money. So I could sell my Photoshop template, and then as an add-on for another £6, I can say, right, download my glitch expression. So there's expressions for making things like GTA posters. Sorry, there's a lot of women not wearing too many clothes here. I sincerely apologise. Doesn't seem to be feminism or us, this page. But you can do some really cool effects anyway. And so you basically, someone downloads this and they hit a button and magically things happen without them knowing. But you guys need to know it because you need the money. And so let's go. Let's make an expression. I want you to go to Window at the top of Photoshop. This is the last thing. And then we will stop and you can continue to live your lives. Go to Window. And I want you to find the Actions menu here. That's Window Actions. So this is the advanced bit of the tutorial. Well, a bit more advanced anyway. Here. So if you don't like what you've done or don't like what I've done, because I'm not a graphic designer, it's fine. It's really about the buttons. It's about the buttons we pressed along the way, not the destination. And you guys can make it look cool. So here we go. You'll see a bunch of words in here. I've got loads of expressions going on. Actions, sorry. Some I've downloaded, some I've made, some I've sold. And I want you to make a brand new one. To make an expression, I want you to hit the plus button here that looks like a new layer. That's create a new action. And I want you to call this action. You could call it glitch, but it's not actually a glitch. A glitch is where the image actually physically distorts left and right. I want you to call this the proper name, Chromatic Aberration, like this. You could call it RGB offset if you want. I'm just going to call mine Chromatic Aberration, which is a posh word for the little bits you see at the ends of photos where you can see the corners. It looks like a little bit. You'll see this in the corners of photos taken on old cameras. And what you can now do, you can make a colour. So it has like a colour in here. I'm going to change the colour to red because red's going to be in it. And you'll then see your own one sort of glow and be more bright than the others. And then you're going to hit record. Now don't worry, it's not going to record your screen. It's only going to record the buttons you press in Photoshop. So do exactly what I do very carefully. So hit record, and you're going to see that this is going. I'm so sorry, I made a terrible mistake. I think I can do this. I'm going to hit stop. Sorry. Hit stop. We can still go back to record it in a minute. You first of all need to select all of your layers. So I want you to click at the bottommost layer, hold shift, and click on your topmost layer. You might need to scroll, and all of the layers in between will be selected like that. And then once they're all selected, you can then do your expression. So you'll see why later. Select all of your layers, bottom, shift to top, and make sure that your Chromatic Aberration action is selected, and you can then go back to record again. And here's what we're going to do. Be really careful with this. With your left hand, with your little finger on the letter control button on the keyboard. So hold control as well. You can see my buttons I'm pressing here. It's control and shift and alt. Keep holding all those down. Control, shift, alt, E for echo. Be really accurate with this. You can't mess it up. You're recording it. Control, shift, alt, E for echo. And what this does is a really cool way. It selects all of your layers and makes a brand new merged layer from your selection. So it's basically duplicating all your layers and merging them. So you control, alt, shift, E with all your layers selected will duplicate them and merge them at the same time, which is really good. You do not ever want to merge your image. You will lose your whole life. Once you've done that, we can now apply the glitch effect just to this one image, which is a copy of everything. You can't apply this effect to all the layers individually, would be here forever. So this top layer, make sure this top layer is selected. Mine's called layer 1. Just leave it like that for now. I want you to click on the tab that says channels. We're nearly done, don't worry. Channels, you'll see channels here. I want you to click only on the blue channel and it will go black and white. Don't worry, you haven't broken it. So you're on the blue channel at the bottom. And I want you to do... where is it? Hang on. Control, Shift, A. So this is Control, Shift, A for alpha. That's Control, Shift, A for alpha. Brings up your camera raw window like this. It might come up with a message saying, welcome to Photoshop 2020 or whatever. Do you want a free tour? Just say no. No, I think my Photoshop's crashed. No, hang on. Oh, balls. Okay. I'm going to hit send crash report, and I think I've just lost all my work. Hopefully you didn't. Oh, what a pain. Okay, hang on. Let me just... I can resolve this. So remember, things crash for teachers as well. Yeah, it completely crashed. Okay. I can bring it... Don't worry. I didn't save it either because I'm a complete prat. But we'll figure it out. Sometimes Photoshop brings back what you were doing. It did! I love modern Photoshop. Back when I was your age, if it was gone forever. Whew, okay, we can do this. So it didn't like me resizing the window there, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, here we go. Let me just set my thing up. So I'm in Chromatic Aberration. And I'm going to do record. You guys just bear with me. And I did. Now go ahead, stop. I did select all my layers. Control, Alt, E. Control, Alt, Shift, E. And I got that layer. And I'm now going to go to record. No, I can't. No, select all my layers. Then record. Then Control, Alt, thing, E. Smashing. And then we went to channels, didn't we? And then we just clicked on blue on its own. And then we did Control. Hang on 1 second. Let's make sure this is going to not crash. Control, Shift, A for camera raw. And immediately now, so here we are. We're back to where we were. Go to lens corrections. It's up here. It looks like a drum on its side or like a lens or some stuff. And in here, change the distortion amount to -4. And then the last one, this next bit's the last bit. Hit OK. So that was distortion to -4. Hit OK. Click on green. And then again, do Control, Shift, A for alpha. Bring up your camera raw again. In the lens correction bit here, which looks like a bunch of mirrors or whatever. Distortion, this one to -2. And then hit OK. Sweet. You'd be like, but it's black and white. What's going on? But if you click back on RGB now, you can see it did it. And now you can hit, if you go back to layers and just click on your layer again over here, you can then hit stop. And if you zoom in now, you see this really cool RGB offset, like it's 1986 and it looks really cool. And so I really like that effect. And so now, just to pre-test that this works, I'm going to delete this layer 1. Please make sure you've hit stop, otherwise you're... oh, we need to apply a shortcut to this as well. How do I do that? So if you don't apply a shortcut to it, if you've got something you've done in here, remember, select all your layers, and if you hit the play button, it just does it like that. Which is really, really cool. And if you next time you set one up, if you click on the little plus button here, you are actually able to, when you make a new one next time, set a function key. So you can do like function F6 or something. You can hold shift F6 to make it work. But if in doubt, you can just click on whatever you want in here and hit play, and it will do it. Can I do it again? You can do it again. You can like double do it. Yeah, and if you do it again, it just gets really rad like that. It's really cool. So that's how you create an automatic script. And now you can go through loads of images at once, just drag them in and apply the glitch effect to it, which is awesome. So that's pretty much it. So if I go to this random picture in my downloads folder and just drag in a new image, and I just do play and hit continue if you get an error message, it does do it in a very slight way. Remember, slight is good, and you can just do it to any picture now. So this is great with like wedding photos and stuff like that when you want to fix and apply the same thing to many photos at the same time. It's super awesome. That is it. You would then obviously name all your layers if you're going to sell this. So you would just make sure that you name this one to neon. Whoops, you can just do right click, rename. In fact, you should just be able to double click here and change me. So with templates, just have anything you want the audience to change with change me written on. And that's pretty much it. You can then just go ahead and sell this Photoshop file on the internet for $10, which is great. I'm going to guess I'll stop there, unless anyone's got any questions. There's a bit of lag, so if you've got any questions, do. Cool. All right then. Thanks, guys. I will go. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll see you next time. See you. Bye.